All right, so my name's Rishab, and my partner is Jonathan. And our presentation is going to be about embracing your talents to tackle the Sustainable Development Goals.
So in this presentation, we're going to go over 4 means to create change. So basically, we're trying to do this action-oriented because all of us want to create lasting change. And so we're going to describe briefly those 4 means to create change: education, involvement in your communities, engaging in the political process, and creating lasting initiatives and fundraisers. And then after that, we're going to specifically go into how to you specifically use your talents to tackle the SDGs and create initiatives.
All right, so the first step to creating a difference is education. So in order to facilitate change, you have to be educated on the matters in which you want to cause that change. So in order to learn more about whatever topic you're interested in, your education in school or university is especially important, and especially with the costs of college in the United States now, online classes are becoming more and more useful, such as Coursera or ASU Online or that kind of stuff. Uh, you can also utilize scholarly articles such as those found on RAND, the Brookings Institute, the American Enterprise Institute, the UN, government documents, or nonprofits. And finally, you could also utilize literature, such as books written by professors or historians, documentaries, social media, or a website called Google Scholar. Now, Google Scholar gives you articles that are based completely on journals written by professors or historians or researchers in the field that have been peer reviewed and contain fully factual information. So especially if you want to delve deeper into whatever topic you're interested in, I highly recommend it as a resource.
Right. So can you go back for a sec?
Yeah, for sure.
So essentially what we're saying is that if you really want to create genuine change, you have to first educate yourself. So just do as much research as you can, and then go out and educate more people and spread the message of change. And don't be afraid to have discussions and dialogue with other people as well. So the next thing is community engagement. And change ultimately begins at a local level. And you can do so much to create change in your community. Grassroots organizations, for example, there's tons of organizations that stem from community engagement. The whole Black Lives Matter movement stems from local community involvement and community engagement. And then you can also reach out to local leaders like your city mayor, whoever leads your province or state, senators, etc.
So possibly the most important facet in change is political participation. So there are many parts of participating in your political process. If you're of age, you can vote. That's what in the end that's what causes change, and that's what causes policy. So voting is especially important. Campaigning is also up there. If you have a particular candidate that you support, you can help them out. You can make phone calls, go door to door. You can help them win their election so that they can vote for the policies that you support. Research is also really important because, as I said, with education, if once you educate yourself, and as Jonathan mentioned, once you educate yourself, you can start educating other people, and that'll influence them and how they vote. And then finally is debate and discourse. Once you know enough to educate yourself and others, you can debate and engage in political discourse with them, which means that you can talk to them about what you believe in and why they should believe the same things as what you believe, and possibly even change your own opinion on whatever topic that you're interested in. So this allows for people to create more detailed policies and form a more uh, individualized opinion on whichever topics that you're interested in and whichever topics that are of most importance at that moment.
Okay, and lastly, we have initiatives and fundraising. Yeah, money speaks. You can't ultimately run an organization if you don't have money, and you can't promote change if you don't have that. So self-grown initiatives can provide resources to locals and promote community engagement. And you can choose what issues you wish to promote and fundraise for. We'll go into detail to specific means later, but money and lobbying plays a large role in policy making. And then finally, examples of lasting initiatives are Black Lives Matter, March for Our Lives, and others. And we'll go into some detail about how we started or brainstorm some initiatives, and we'll help you guys also brainstorm initiatives.
And just to add on to that, in fact, March for Our Lives is a movement created in the US in order to combat gun control after an especially brutalizing and traumatizing school shooting event in Florida. So it's a completely student-created initiative and organization, and it's created a lot of policy changes around the country. And so it's really an example of what students can do with the amount of power and the resources that they have presented to them, despite not having like the ability to even vote. So even student-created organizations and initiatives can have a really big impact on the world and your own nation or whatever. So we highly encourage you to consider taking part in an organization like this or even creating your own. So uh, basically the reason that initiatives and fundraising is so important is that lobbying and money plays a bigger role in politics than the opinions of many people. So lobbying is essentially the process of bigger interests, such as special interest groups, having a say and advocating for what they believe in and what would best benefit them instead of what would necessarily benefit the people of the country. So a lot of initiatives, like for example, March for Our Lives or Black Lives Matter, can become powerful lobbyists and instrumental in policy change, which would mean that they would have more power than a lot of businesses or CEOs or politicians in actually making policy, rather than the people who live in whichever country or whichever province that the policy would affect. So initiatives or even student initiatives can give the public more of a voice in domestic and international affairs by being more local to them, by allowing them to partake in politics at a more individualized level than rather than like just reading about it on the news or something like that, or just donating to an organization. And this can also result in crowdsourcing funding for uh, to offset the contributions of powerful interests. So if you're donating to something like Black Lives Matter or Planned Parenthood or something like that, then you're able to uh, negate the contributions that would be made to anti-Black Lives Matter movements or anti-Planned Parenthood organizations, which would mean that your interests and your beliefs would have more of a say than they would if you weren't able to contribute at this level.
Okay, so now we're going to go over our story at our school's Model UN chapter. It's called VMUN, or Vista del Lago Model United Nations. And so we had this chapter at our school, and we were, I think, juniors at the time. So we were in 11th grade, and we helped found a conference at our school. And so in doing so, we helped expose our own students and students throughout our region to a competitive yet accommodating environment. Students developed beneficial soft skills that translated into numerous awards at conferences. So we developed their skills, their debating skills, diplomacy, and research skills in sort of this safe environment where they could speak their mind. And so initiatives like our conference may not cause change on a national level, but will help set a vital foundation for students that will help them contribute to future policy making efforts. So this is just the start of change. If you want to promote change, you don't have to go all in and try to change something national. You can start local and build up and set the foundation for future policymakers and policy influencers.
So our initiatives and ideas, in addition to VMonk, were as part of our school, Jonathan and one of our other friends put on an art show based on their talents to fundraise for the Yemen crisis. So by utilizing their talents, by utilizing their ability to create art and create digital media and that kind of stuff, they're able to fundraise for a like much bigger cause, such as the Yemen crisis. And the same fundraising also helped decrease the amount of homelessness in our community. In fact, we had a lot of classes that actually donated to homeless shelters and areas of like poverty and areas where a lot of people of over the age of 65 weren't able to afford basic amenities and basic goods in our neighborhoods. So we were able to donate to them. We were able to donate food to them and basic goods that they would need, like toothbrushes or dental floss and all that kind of stuff. So even if you don't have any money or something, you can still like fundraise and you can still utilize what your talents are and what you're best at, and you can utilize that in order to for a greater good and like in order to like give money to communities or people who need it.
Can you stay on the slide for a sec? I just
Yeah.
want to expand on the art show idea. So this goes hand in hand with our idea of using your talents to tackle the SDGs. So I am an artist. I like to paint, draw. At the time I was enrolled in a art class. So I was just constantly making art, and a lot of my art centered around social injustices like mass incarceration, the crisis in Yemen, the crisis in China with the Uyghur people. So a lot of my art centered around those ideas. And since I was also involved in the Model UN chapter at our school, I sort of had this idea of connecting the two things and maybe putting on an art show to fundraise for the crisis in Yemen. And so that's an example of how you can connect your talent and what you're good at to ultimately using it to make change. And then, so fighting homelessness, that's when we saw a need in our community and we decided to promote change. So it's that simple. If you see any need in your community at the local or national level and you really want to change it, then go for it. Go change it. Yeah.
So we have a question for you guys. So of course, creating change starts off with having a goal in mind. So what we want to ask you guys is, what do you want to accomplish and see done? And what
And
do you think you can do?
to answer this question, just raise your hand and I believe the host will allow you to speak.
Yeah. Vihan, you can unmute.
Personally, I would like to see a lot more change within our communities, so to allow like a very level playing ground. As we've seen with like the Black Lives Matter movement, I want it so that everyone has a opportunity, a equal opportunity, where everyone can have the same opportunities at their work, in the work or wherever they want to go, which we are slowly seeing getting implemented. I want it a lot more so that no one feels left out or no one feels like they have nowhere to go in the world.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Emily?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, what I want to accomplish or see done What I really want to accomplish, especially in my community, is to I want to accomplish the fight against littering and encourage going green, because I can see that this is negatively affecting the people around us, and not only the people and the animals and stuff. So what I really want to accomplish, or what I'm working to accomplish right now, is encouraging the people in my community to going green, and ensuring that we live in a clean and safe environment.
All right. Thank
That's
you.
awesome. Yeah, it's definitely a really important topic.
Udia.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I want to accomplish in Sudan is basically, currently, I want to be able to encourage more people to wear a mask, because that's the virus that's coming. That's what we are faced with, and many people aren't doing it, and they don't see the need for it. So I want to be able to inform everyone about the need for the mask, so that we can fight this pandemic.
All right. That's pretty good too. Would anyone else
All right,
like to contribute?
let's want to move on to our next question.
Okay. All right. We have our second question for you would be, what are some of your talents? By being able to recognize your talents, you can also recognize how you could best contribute to your community or to whichever organization or initiative that you're most comfortable with or that you're most passionate about. So if anyone wants to share what they believe is their best or their most prominent talents.
Sebastian.
Okay, thank you. I'm Sebastian from Bolivia. My talents are programming. I love programming, and I think that skills and abilities are so important to accomplish the SDGs. So programming and robotics, I love making robots.
So what SDG are you passionate about?
Sorry?
So what SDG are you passionate about? Or what initiative would you like to?
I'm passionate about education. Education is the most important thing for me. I'm also involved in a robotics school and in a robotic club in a school. I'm the president, and I think that learning and teaching are the most important things to develop the community.
All right, that's great. So especially as someone interested in computer science or programming, you could be very beneficial in helping companies or helping initiatives reach out to students and reach out to educators through websites or through
Yeah,
apps or programs. So you should
absolutely.
definitely, if any of you are interested in computer science or programming, you should definitely consider trying to use those talents and developing developing apps or websites or even developing organizations that can help crowdfund or get out to a lot more students or a lot more people. And that would definitely be able to cause a change in your community.
Yeah, I agree. Thank
Yeah, thank you, Sebastian.
Augusta? Augusta, did you want to speak? Okay, Andrea?
I want to speak, but I was muted in.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Augusta and I'm from Ecuador. I think that one of my talent is like do art, like draw, and I think that we can like recycle and make art with like reusable things and that. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Andrew?
Yes, hi. I'm Andrea from Mexico. Um, robotics and also like art and painting and all that. So I think I could be able to maybe put those things together and achieve something in the SDGs. Like I think some of the SDGs I'm really like passionate about are gender equality and also like innovation and the environmental kind. So maybe that's, I think I could do in the future.
Did you say robotics or something like that?
Yes, robotics and also like painting.
That's
In
awesome. I also really love painting, so you could definitely like depict gender equality through your art. That way you can educate more people about it and really show the rawness of gender equality, the realness of gender equality. And then in addition to that, you can sell your artwork to maybe fundraise for organizations that combat gender equality, things like that.
Yes,
And
that sounds
Go ahead.
awesome.
Go ahead. Okay, sorry. In fact, I actually do have a few friends who were interested in robotics, and I remember that you mentioned that you were interested in helping the environment. So a lot of my friends, what they did is that they used their skills in robotics and engineering, and they try to create solutions, technological solutions to help subset environmental problems that they found. So if you were interested in robotics, you could definitely find a way to like help with pollution or water pollution or something that like interests you the most.
Yeah, that's cool.
All right, Emily.
Okay, can you hear me once again?
Yeah.
Okay, my talent would be in creative writing. I can write anything from poetry to stories to drama to making posters. I can do a lot of things that have to do with creative writing.
Okay.
So I can use that to my advantage in a sense that I could maybe create a poster that would actually inform people about the damage that they are doing. Since I'm interested in environmental issues, so I can just do a poster to inform people about what they're doing to the environment by littering, or perhaps write a poem, something that will touch people's hearts about the damage that is caused by the litter that is distributed everywhere.
Yeah, those are really good ideas. Shurabe?
Yeah, hi. Sorry.
Yeah,
Hi. Yeah, so my talent is, well, I am a pianist and I really like music in general. I'm playing, well, my instrument. And in general, I am very passionate about many SDGs, actually, from education, from gender equality, the environment, climate change, you know it. And I have always asked myself, how can I like advocate or like make a true impact through my musical talent. So I don't know if you have like advices.
I
Jonathan?
just actually put up one idea on the chat. So one way you could do it is put on a piano performance or a concert type of thing. Invite people in your community, and maybe the tickets that you sell could be fundraised for a cause that you're passionate about. If you also like to songwrite, you could write songs about maybe different injustices or causes and spread the word.
Oh my god, you cannot see me smiling, but I am really it's actually true, and actually I can do this. I can do that. So they're pretty great ideas. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Yeah, no problem. Okay, Rishab, do you want to move on?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so in order to get started, basically you want to start planning out what you want to do, right? So the first step would definitely be to research and find sustainability development goal or an issue that you're passionate about. For example, I might pick SDG 1, which is about ending world poverty. The second step would be to find an international or domestic organization with related efforts. So, for example, a really prominent organization that's combating poverty would be Oxfam. And so the third step would be that you consider starting or joining a local chapter of the organization, or you could start a local fundraising campaign to donate to that NGO. So basically what this does is that it allows people in the community to learn about these kind of organizations and to contribute to them, or to intern for them or volunteer for them. Or you could also start off your own organization that is has similar efforts and maybe even work hand in hand with larger organizations like this. The only problem with that may be that the large organizations have a lot more money and resources. So it may be more worthwhile your time to like help them out rather than necessarily starting off your own smaller chapter or a smaller organization.
Okay, and so steps to take to start your own initiatives and fundraise. So first, you want to identify your own talents or things that you love to do, just things that you're interested about. So for example, for me, I love basketball, I love art, very creative. And then number two, identify an SDG that you're particularly passionate about. So someone just before said they're passionate about gender equality. Someone before that said they're passionate about climate change. So just target something that you really want to change. And then step three, organize a fundraiser and program to educate and raise funds for the SDG based on your talents. So an example is, if you love soccer or football as it's called in the rest of the world, you may organize a tournament centered around playing for the SDGs. So that could be the theme of the tournament, playing for the SDGs, and then you could fundraise for the SDGs, sell things at the tournament, things like that. It could be anything. So I know a lot of people said they love robotics and computer science programming. So if you love robotics, for example, you could organize your own competition or even a training session to teach maybe younger or less experienced people about robotics, and then in a way connected to the SDGs. So these could be any talents whatsoever. You can just connect them to the SDGs and find a way to fundraise, educate people, and just spread the word about the SDGs.
Just to add on to that, I know a lot of you may be a bit afraid to do so, especially if you have monetary concerns and it's difficult for you to organize a fundraiser or to gather resources. So it is very possible that you could start a business as well, like selling goods in order to, or for a profit, but also like donating a lot of your money to a charity or something. So if you want to do that, you could also talk to investors in your country or in your area that may be passionate about the same things as you are, and they may give you money in order to like help boost your business or boost your initiative as well. So if you don't have money, that doesn't necessarily have to be a concern. You can always reach out to someone else, and like they may be able to help you out as well.
Yeah, and honestly, the hardest step, the hardest obstacle to overcome is just starting. Like once you make that leap and just try to promote some kind of change, and you set your mind on that, you can definitely like accomplish anything. That's just the hardest step, is just starting.
So the takeaways here are that for one, your voice matters, regardless of your age. You can still make a huge impact on your country's affairs or your international issues, or even in your local community. The second would be that there are many resources available to help you get started on your initiatives. That could be talking to investors, going out and reaching out to organizations, talking to local leaders, whatever it may be. The third would be to keep educating yourself and to stay updated on current affairs to more effectively make a difference. The more educated you are, the more people you'll be able to convince to help you out or to believe in the same things as you do. And that will always help be a step in creating progress and creating change. And if you want to make change, try your best to use your talents and your interests to educate and promote. That way, it not only creates a change, but it also helps you like feel better about it and helps you enjoy making that change as well. And yeah, that's end of our presentation.
Yeah, so again, embrace your talents to tackle the SDGs. Thank you.
Do you have any questions? Augusta? Augusta, did you want to ask a question?
Oh no, I only want to say that thanks because the advices that you gave us are very useful.
All right, thank you.
Omaya from the press has a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Omaya, you're muted.
Okay, it's working now. I can
Yeah.
ask my question. Thank you so much for the presentation. It was like very informative. A lot of times people have specific talents and they really want to do like good, help people and, you know, other things. But, you know, there is that process where you have to go through things alone. Like, for example, like if you want to host a fundraiser, it'll take a lot of time. You'll have to plan every detail. Like, do you have any motivational tips to, you know, motivate people like to go through it, even if it takes a lot of time to plan things?
So ultimately, I think the best advice is just to keep the end goal in your mind, that ultimately what you're doing is you're gonna make a huge impact on your community and the world ultimately. And if there aren't people like you who are gonna take those obstacles and take the effort, then there's not gonna be any change. So you are a change maker, and make sure that's your end goal. Also, feel free to do it with some of your friends, some of your family, other people in community as well. It makes things a little bit easier.
Okay, thank you very much.
And to add on to that, I would definitely recommend reaching out to other people who have traveled the same path before you. You can definitely reach out to local business leaders or local politicians or someone you look up to, and they can definitely help guide you as well and help motivate you if you feel like you're stuck or you can't get to the higher level that you want to be at. So yeah, definitely, like he said, keep the end goal in mind, and that should help motivate you to keep going and like to keep creating change.
Thank you to you both.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone else have any questions?
Sebastian.
Yes, Sebastian.
Yeah, I want to share some data about education in Bolivia, more specifically internet access in Bolivia, and it's similar in all Latin America. Almost the 50% of population that uses internet is between 16 and 31 years, and the rest of the population, like 20% and so forth, are from 31 and above. So I think that that's why education now online is not a good education, and we have to train teachers to so they can teach us very well as a classroom, and in order to accomplish the SDG 4, no, education. And by BBC, the teacher, the promedium in Latin America is 40 years old, so they don't know how to use English. Sorry, is how to use internet very well. So we have to help them so they can do good their work.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Access to internet, like in a lot of areas, especially rural areas, is very, very limited. And so I believe you did say that you were interested in programming. So that's something you could definitely help create a change in. You could definitely help increase accessibility to internet and resources that for education that otherwise they wouldn't have. So for example, in the United States, it's very popular to use this website called Khan Academy. And a lot of schools and educators use it in absence of textbook learning or classroom learning. So you could definitely utilize these kind of apps or websites in order to further the amount of education that people in rural areas or even in suburban areas in impoverished countries can have access to.
So responding to Udia's question on the chat, do you have advice for people who face criticism and mockery from older people and others? I think at the end of the day, you just have to remember that these older people or whoever is criticizing you, they're holding society back and holding you back. And so you ultimately just have to remember that you are the change makers and what you're doing is bringing about change. You have to stay focused on the goal. And so all these criticisms and mockeries, they shouldn't affect you because at the end of the day, you know in your heart that you're creating change. Yeah.
And to add on to that, in 20 to 30 years, you guys are going to be the ones in charge of your governments or in charge of your organizations or businesses. So most likely they won't be around to see what effects your work has accumulated to. So regardless of what they say, in the end, they're not going to they're not going to have any benefit from what you do or just suffer any repercussion. So I just say go for it. I mean, what you do in the end will definitely help a lot more people than what they have done in the past. So
thank you everyone for your questions. Thank you for the presentation, Rishab and Jonathan. Unfortunately, due to time constraints, we shall have to end this session and close the room for the next session. I would like to hand it over to Nicola for some final words.
I'd like to thank Jonathan and Rishab for their presentation and for their ideas to try and encourage all of you to get involved in this more. I have been dropping a couple of things in the chat about becoming an MUN Impact Partner Club, and every little activity and action that you take all goes to helping the SDGs, so do get involved. I'd like to thank the interpreters for their work, and I'm now going to have to close this session down so we can go to our last final session of the Global Summit. So thank you everybody, have a nice day, bye.
Thank you.